Well, now he goes up against, imagine, that's like kicking a football around and then taking on Ronaldo a couple of weeks later. Let's see what happens here as James Deane leads in Sadeh.
Yeah, James Deane going for that big, wild initiation. He's been pulling off all weekend. He fires it in, and Sadeh gives him some room to manoeuvre, loses a little ground now, starts to creep up onto the front wheel on the door of James Deane's S15. He kicks the clutch aggressively, does Sadeh, but he fires on too much angle, and he's going to lose some ground, and he loses a lot of ground on that big angle transition, and James Deane wobbles in that outside zone now. Sadeh finds himself on the inside, trying to hunt down James Deane, but it's aggressive from Deane, and he's flying that car around. He's not messing around. He's a championship drive, but look at Sadeh now finds that proximity, he looks for the side of the S15. They get into the last outside zone. Deane fires on the angle, and it's unbelievable. Let's keep that championship hope alive and get the green light. They are ready to go. Deane now follows Sadeh down. He's going to go for this straight line transition, that flick in straight onto the front wheel, and no messing around from James Deane. Sadeh gets him into the outside zone now, starts to flow, starts to pull away, but Deane is right with him. He goes for that transition on the back bumper. Deane gives him the room as they now look for outside zone 4. A little wobble there from Sadeh. Deane deals with it, but Deane's on the inside now, and Deane has to shallow up the angle, flicks it to angle as they exit the outside zone. Sadeh's going to go for a long flick, a long line into this outside zone, and it kind of leaves Deane asking the question, where is he going to go? But he answers it. Now James Deane needs to stamp his authority, runs over the back bumper of Sadeh and jumps onto the door.
So will the championship still be open for James Deane? It is indeed. Deane moves on to the top 16. He's still in the championship. He will lead Ireland versus Poland for another spot in the top 8. Here we go.
Yeah, and here we go. James Deane wild already. Big flick across. He says, well, if I can't win the championship, let's have some fun and let's make this one an exciting one. Look at the line from Deane. Absolutely glued to the wall here. He is, but there's no shaking. Paweł Korpolinski, the Polishman, will want this one as well. He won't want to go down without a fight in front of his Polish fans. Oh, nice little dive from Korpolinski as he tucks himself up into the rear quarter of James Deane's S15. They fire through the outside zone. Korpolinski can't be shaken right now as Deane absolutely fires it across the circuit. Big angle from both guys, but Korpolinski deals with it, shallows up in that outside zone, and now starts to make the hunt once again as Deane flicks the back end to the wall. Korpolinski's on the wheel.
These cars have been through the wars, and now we go at it again. Deane wants to win the event. He's got to go through an on-form Korpolinski, and he's got to be on the door.
He certainly has got to be on the door. Will Korpolinski give him that opportunity? Will he give him that perfect, steady lead line? Well, he's already opened it up for him and said to James Deane, come on then, give me that proximity, give me that chase that I just give you. Oh, and a little flex of the front bumper from Korpolinski. Absolutely beautiful into that inside zone. Now into this outside zone. Deane now starts to repay the favour. Little tuck up onto the door, a little nudge onto the front wheel to let Korpolinski know he's there. He goes very wide, Korpolinski. He has to make a correction on the steering, but he's in there. He's in that zone, and Deane deals with it. And now as Deane starts to repay the favour, they go wheel to wheel. Bootlids flying up on the wall.
Well, that man reckons he'll never beat the Irish. Let's see if he's right or wrong. Will it be Korpolinski? Will it be Deane going through? James Deane gets the win, and he goes through to the top 8. And Oliver Armley says, I'm going to absolutely send it in there in the first corner. Here we go, Estonia chasing in Ireland into that spot in the semi-final for grabs, and Oliver Randall's right there on the back of James Deane to give it to that first corner. Deane's got a lot of grip in that car, he's got a lot of pace, but Randall matches it.
Yeah, he does match it, and look at this, Randall shallows up the angle to try and keep it. Oh, and he makes a mistake, almost hits the wall. He almost does a Kevin Biscolti move there, but now he gets himself back into the fight, and he finds the side of James Deane's S15 as they fire through outside zone 4, but that was a big mistake for Randall. They come through, they look for the outside zone, and Randall takes a brave dive down the inside. Very good driving from Oliver Randall this weekend, but he has to shallow up and get himself back into this final outside zone, onto the wheel, across the line.
As well, all he's got to do is keep his cool here behind Oliver Randall. So that's easier said than done when the pressure is this high.
Yeah, it is high as well in the arena right now as they fire through. Randall on the handbrake, sets himself up nicely for that first outside zone. Deane onto the door. Look at this, James Deane. He says, well, I don't need to do too much, but I'm going to do all of it, and that's absolutely beautiful from James Deane. Gets the front bumper to the wall, nice transition back, and sets himself up for the outside zone, but he finds himself on the inside a little bit. James Deane now falling a little bit scrappy. Can he get himself back into the fight as Randall fires big angle on that outside zone 5? They touch and go. Gets himself now to the second to last outside zone. Deane sets himself back up now, gets back into the pocket, into the groove, onto the front wheel and across the line.
Oliver Randall with James Deane for a spot in the semi-final. It's the machine, James Deane, going through to the semi-final. Bigs.
That's a lot of bigs.
And here we go. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 and send them into that first corner. LZ goes He knows he can trust James Deane. He knows he can go close, and let's see what happens.
There we go. James Deane fires in. Look at this from Adam LZ though. Oh, a little too deep on that first outside zone, but now reasserts himself. Looks for the side of the S15. They fire through, and Deane clinical as always. And Adam LZ optimises on that clean lead line. Oh, tags the wall once again. LZ disposes of the back end of that E36. He shallows up the angle. Deane dials it on as they fire through the touch and go. Now one transition left as they get themselves in to the second to last outside zone. Now LZ starts to apply the pressure as Deane tags the wall. LZ into the pocket, up onto the front wheel, across the line.
Well, you've got to give it here. And Adam LZ, well, he's got to get up and gone into this first corner. Deane chasing in LZ into that first corner. Deane leaves it late, but he gets it on time.
Yeah, he does, and LZ fires into that first outside zone. It's really nice from LZ, but opens the door for James Deane as he tags the side of that E36 BMW. They fire through. LZ nice and close to the wall, but Deane replicates it as well. Now follows him into this outside zone. Oh, and Deane's deeper into the zone. He's onto the door, he's onto the wall. A little wobble from both guys as they come firing through. They look for the touch and go. LZ's on an absolute flyer right now as he lines himself up for the outside zone. Gets himself into a little dab of the foot brake, and both guys clouded by the smoke as they get into the final zone across the line.
Both of these drivers don't know which way it's going to go, but for a spot in the final to face McKeever, it's James Deane. James Deane is going to the final. Marston gives the word. The last two runs of the night, the last two runs of the year. McKeever to lead in Deane. Here we go.
No messing around for Dwayne McKeever as he flicks that car across the circuit. Look at the straight line approach from James Deane. He already gets into it, but he gets into the wall, disposes of some body panels, and now hunts down the side of the Northern Irishman as they fire through. Deane goes for a brave transition. He goes for it. He looks for the side. Both guys touch the wall. There's a wobble on a waiver and some lost ground from James Deane as McKeever stays rock steady. He now flicks the car across the circuit towards the wall. Deane shortcuts it, makes up that lost ground, looks for the side of that 180SX. The last outside zone approaches, and they're door to door.
This one is a huge, huge 50 seconds for both of them. James Deane in the lead position, McKeever in the chase. Deane going big and wild at the start. McKeever waits, and now McKeever goes.
Yeah, McKeever waits for him to get himself set up, now goes for it, now dives down, and James Deane perfectly on the outside zone, tickles the back bumper along the wall, but doesn't do too much. Now flicks through, front bumper onto the wall, a little moonwalk, a little back step for James Deane, but he's perfect on that line, and now that opens the door for Dwayne McKeever as he glues that 180SX to the door the whole way around the outside zone. James Deane goes for it, he fires the car across the circuit and absolutely fires in does Dwayne McKeever as he's wheel to wheel, bumper to bumper, both guys shredding. They fire on the angle across the line.
Don't know if the scores are going. Are the scores in? They're in. They're in.
We go.
Here we go. The winner of round 6 of Drift Masters is Dwayne McKeever. Dwayne McKeever wins the final round of Drift Masters. He's done